Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to today's video. Today we'll be doing another Meet My Fiancé realistic dating advice for Asian men. And I'm so thankful, dude, you guys love this. And this is so much fun for us to do it. So please comment your suggestions and maybe we'll cover it. So realistic dating advice for Asian men. And I'm gonna bounce some ideas off my fiancé because I get some fucking crazy advice, perspective, and horror stories that you guys shared with me. Guys, like we talk about on this channel, like you don't need to learn pickup lines. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on the way you look to try to obtain a girlfriend. I think this whole idea of feeling like you're not enough because you don't have a girlfriend or partner is not true at all. I know that Asian men struggle with their masculinity and realize, guys, you don't need to be white to be a man. Like, that is an absolute truth. You don't have to go and be creepy to go and try to get a girlfriend. I think the number one thing we reiterate on this channel is social awareness. Guys, have social awareness. I think the worst thing you can do is be a guy and give off the creep vibes. Is that the most terrifying thing for you?
Yeah,
Could you expand on that?
it's frightening. Yeah, I feel like you could be in a situation and if a guy says one thing that's really creepy, you're like, oh shit. And alarm bells go off and you're like, how the hell do I get out of here safely?
Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
It's awful because like they have the inability to pick up a hint and they don't realize what it's like to be a woman and scared. I think a really good example is like if you're minding your own business and some guy just approaches you out of the blue in public, like, what's your first reaction?
Oh my gosh, this guy's coming up to talk to me. Like, what does he want? Does he want my money? Kind of like the feeling of like, should I punch him in the face or run away?
Yeah, fight or flight for sure.
Yeah.
I think having that acknowledgement, I know that if you don't grow up with sisters or female friends, it's really hard to imagine what it's like to be kind of a woman just walking around sometimes. I mean, trust me, we have really good female friends and like, I think there's a way to approach, like if you see someone amazing, you want to say hi, go for it, but do it in a non-creepy way. Like giving the creep vibes immediately eliminates any opportunity.
Yeah, I think talking to someone without expecting something from them. Because if a guy talks to you and he's like, well, now that you're talking to me, we have to go on a date or we have to get coffee or you owe me something. That's when it gets creepy.
Yeah, I think we get a lot of manipulation and coercion through the dating scene. I don't know what happens. I think the best way to do it is, guys, like mind your own business, go out, do cool stuff. And if you happen to be at the mall and you see someone cute, just see what she's up to legitimately. See if there's any chemistry. And I think you have to be attracted to them, right? If you're physically and mentally attracted to them, like obviously physical attraction is what initiates the beginning of a relationship because you look at them like, oh, he's kind of cute. She's kind of cute. And then eventually start talking. And then you're like, whoa, you're really mentally stimulating. I do enjoy this conversation. Because there's also times where I see someone's attractive and they open their mouth and you're like, oh, there we go. Yeah, this is not going to work at all, right?
Yeah.
So I guess this number one thing is, do looks matter, Hadley?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, simple truth, yeah.
They do. I think they're definitely not everything. And like you said too, looks don't overcome a really shitty personality.
Yeah.
Like if you're not a great guy and you just happen to be like the really hot Chad, whatever, and you talk to somebody, maybe you're attractive, but the conversation's not good. Or if you're creepy, it doesn't overcome that. But at the same time, if you're just super nice and it's obvious that there's no attraction there, like I think the tendency is for a lot of girls like to friend zone you.
Yeah. I think the worst thing for a guy to do is go through the friend zone to try to get a good girlfriend. I know you've dealt with this and it's fucking hilarious for guys to say, hey, I just want to be your friend, nothing. And then like 2 years later, it's like, hey, I'm in love with you. I have a penis now. Let's make this work. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I think that's the most terrifying thing about a guy is it's like the men who won't even tell you their intent.
Yeah. I've known people like that yeah, they're like, oh, I just want to support you and be your friend and we can go, like, I'll just support you, like, whatever. Maybe they even have a girlfriend at the time and then like 2 years later they're like, I've always loved you, and you're like, wait, what? Like, excuse me? You know, like you go out with like a big group of friends and you all have some drinks and they're like, we should date now, and you're like, no.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's another thing of just having guy friends in general. Like I don't think I think having friends is a great thing, but if you're in a really committed relation that's healthy, having a ton of dude friends is probably not the best thing.
Honestly, having a lot of dude friends as a single girl is probably not a good thing either.
Well, I mean, can you explain why a single girl would have a lot of dude friends?
Like there's a lot of girls that try to be one of the guys or like...
So attention.
If you're in a field that if you're in like a STEM field and there are a lot of guys, like maybe you don't have, like maybe that's who you're around. Mm-hmm. But I think too, there's like, there have to be boundaries when you have like opposite sex friendships. You can't use people like that for like emotional support. You can't treat a guy like you would treat a girlfriend of yours, because if you do that, then it's like you're basically in a relationship. If you go to them, you know, for emotional support, advice, then like the lines get blurred.
Yeah, it's emotional cheating.
Yeah. Or, and then if you're a single girl with a bunch of guy friends, I don't know, for you, that's kind of like a red flag, right?
Yeah, I'm always curious when I see a single girl with a lot of guy friends, because I'm like, okay, first of all, it's an attention thing, and it's like, I just feel like, you know, guys get like competitive sometimes, and, you know, she's doing it for kind of the wrong reasons too. I'm not saying it couldn't be possible. I haven't seen a really good example of that.
I think modern day feminism kind of like pushes the idea that to be successful, you need to be masculine. I know that's been like pushed on me. Yeah. And I think a lot of people do that, right? They're like, oh, well, I want to be successful. I want to have this career. So women become more masculine and then surround themselves with men. And then that opens up into like a whole nother world of problems. Is maybe you don't have to be, like, you can be feminine and be really successful. And I think sometimes if you act really masculine, then you are going to be around more guys.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be like, they're not going to want to date you, and you don't want to be like one of the guys.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I really appreciate feminine women. Like, my mother's a single woman, and she's a total fucking badass. She came to this country not speaking any English, work as a housekeeper to give my brother and I the opportunities that we have. But she's still very feminine because she came from the Asian culture, and she's very great. And I think, you know, talking about dating advice is being a feminine man. Like, what's your thought? I know we've talked about this, and you just want to date a masculine man.
Yeah, I think feminine men are like that's kind of disgusting to me. Like, to be honest, like before I met you, I would go on dates, and I told everyone, I was like, if I go out with someone and I'm more masculine than them, that's not okay. That's not gonna work. I don't want to, like, you know, have to comfort them and hold their hand.
Be their mommy.
Be their mom. Like, I don't. Yeah, and the other thing too is, like, I don't want to be with someone where, like, I would have to protect us if something went down. Like, in all honesty.
Oh, I was going to say, like, you know, you're a 5'4" white girl. I mean, if you're protecting both people in this party, I think we're absolutely fucked in that scenario.
And I know people like that. I have been on dates where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, if someone tried to rob us right now, it would be on me. And I'm a 5'4" white girl.
Well, I think it's the number one thing is, I think guys, I mean, with Asian men and just men in general, I feel like there's a struggle with masculinity. And I think the number one thing is, like, when I met you, like, look, you're in the Navy and med school. I thought that was fucking cool. Like, you're being a doctor. I was like, that's G as fuck. Like, my mom, you know, is a very, like, you know, she does, I get it, like, doing your own thing, but you're very feminine though. Like, you want, like, put your career over, like, everything else, right? You're not like, I'll have a career and I don't want kids and a family, because, you know, I want to have, like, a supportive feminine wife. Like, I want to have, like, you go to work, do your thing, but I don't want you to be like, I'm giving up this entire relationship for my job. And I'm like, that's not, like, a good thing.
No, and I think too, like, as a guy, I've known, like, I've had, like, friends in the past that made their boyfriends, like, follow them, or their husbands follow them, and, like, they're like, okay, well, it's going to be my career, my this, like, why don't you quit your job and stay home with the kids, and then I'm going to go work. That's a very feminist thing, and I think that's kind of, like, hard. And I think too, like, if you really want that, maybe.
If you're happy, yeah.
If you're happy and it works, or if it's a period of your life where it really makes sense, okay. But, like, for someone to kind of just, like, push you into that, I've seen girls do that. They're like, well, I make more than you, like, my career is more important, you should default to me. That's
just, like, a shitty thing to say in general, right? I feel like a lot of your former friends or your colleagues, their relationships, it's not healthy. It's always like something's wrong with it, and it's just like they're just settling. The fact is, they're settling with someone, they're not happy with who they are with, and they think they could do better, but they don't have the balls to leave the relationship and go and be single and find what they want. So they just settle, because the fear of being alone is fucking awful. I know you had a friend who every time I used to talk, she just always shit talked her boyfriend.
Yeah. So I did have, like, one friend, and every time, how's your weekend? And she's like, oh, my boyfriend's being stinky, and, like, this sucks, and, like, and it was just, I was like, well, I mean, and I get that, like, shit happens, and that's okay, you know? And I was like, I listened, you know, for a while, and then
but
eventually
every time
I was like, I was like, well, if it's that bad, maybe, like, don't be in that relationship.
I think it was awful because remember I was hearing this. It was like, you shouldn't put your partner down, your man down, whoever you're with all the time. Like every time she talked to you, it was like he was doing something wrong. And you could tell it was like internal conflict. Like I remember you told me she like didn't want to be at home. So she would like stay at work to avoid being with her partner.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that?
Yeah. I think that kind of was like where we kind of butted heads a little bit too. Is like when I started dating him, I was like, oh, hell yeah, like as soon as class is over, I'm getting the hell out and I'm going home to hang out with him, right? I wanted to be here. And she's like, oh, well, let's like go study or let's stay at school. And when I was single, I did that because like, I don't know, what was I going home to, you know? And then like, you know, we would stay and she's like, well, I don't want to go home because he's going to be in a bad mood.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I don't want to go home and deal with that because I can't work. I know a lot of people like that like wake up super early, go to school to get away from their like wife and kids, get away from their like husband, or like, I can't work with this person around, so I gotta leave. And I was like, that sucks.
Yeah, no, I was amazed at the story. I was like, why are you with someone where you dread and go home? When you settle for less, you're losing the opportunity of settling for more. And it's funny because by playing it safe, you're actually fucking yourself over. Like, there's a reason why settling for less is not a good method. It's like, why would you settle for the 1988 Honda Accord when you could get the 2022 Acura MTX? Like, the best experience you can have is a 1988 Honda Accord. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the heat's probably broken, but it's just the way it is, right? And realize that car might cause more headaches in the long term than just settling for a higher quality partner. I think settling for a lower quality partner, you have low quality problems and you're always quarreling. You're always fighting. It's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's things that are worth fighting about, right? There's things that are worth like discussing. If you're fighting about like, really low level things, really low level people, that you're like, well, that's like not a good use of time. And I think tell someone, you know, if they do something that really bothers you and you really like them, right? You like see all this potential, or you're like, you're a really great person. Maybe you just, you know, have some qualities that you're like working on or something. And you're like, hey, like maybe you could work on this because that makes me feel really bad. If they work on it, great. If they keep treating you like trash, probably don't be with them.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the idea of just like settling though, right? Yeah. I mean, think about all these problems could just be avoided if you just dated a high quality partner. Like if we both dated someone that we really wanted to be, and thankfully you are, I want to be with you and you want to be with me. It's like a lot of the problems get eliminated. Like if we're both genuinely attracted to each other physically, emotionally, spiritually, and you're funny, like a lot of the lower problems kind of disappear. Of course, there's shit in life that you really cannot control, right? Like we have, I guess, potential racist in-laws on your side, and that's a really difficult thing, right?
And we're working through it as a team.
Yeah, and like, that's the thing about life is nothing is ever perfect. But if you have a really good foundation, a lot of these like small problems like go away at all. I mean, if you are a man, guys, just be a fucking man in the relationship. And I'm not saying like be a man in the traditional sense of like, oh, men don't cry, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, look, like if you're having a really hard time and you need the emotional support from your partner, not like every single day crying for like a year, right? Then that's just fucking annoying. But if it's like you're having a really hard time, it's okay to be emotionally vulnerable with someone, but don't expect her to be your mommy. You know, just sit there. Like there have been times like, hey, I bring up really productive, like, hey, babe, I've had this issue on my mind at work. Could I just run it through so that, you know, just to see where I can add some value or share your perspective with me. But it's also like really simple. There's some days Heather's like, hey, what do you want to eat? I'm not like, well, babe, what do you want to eat? And then you'll be like, what? No, what do you want to eat? I'm like, no, babe, anything that you want, madam. Right? I'm like, no, we're having fucking Thai food tonight. We're having fucking Thai food.
I love that. Yeah. Like when we, on our, the night I met him, this was like crazy to me. This is the craziest thing. Yeah. Like no one's ever done this. And so we were sitting there and I was like, they're like, oh, should we get espresso martinis? And I was like, oh, I really like those. So we got one. And then they were like, oh, do you want another? And it's like, I don't know about that. And he's like, yes, we're all getting another round. Like it was a group of people. He was like, we're all getting another round. And he just like took like initiative and took control of the situation.
Well, I could tell you really wanted it. And you're like, no. And I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, if I get a drink, our other friend, Jenna, gets a drink. And then she's just like, I don't know. And then it's going to get all messed up, the orders, right? And I was like, you clearly want it. And if you don't want to drink it, I was like, you didn't have to, right? You could just
right. Well, it's not like he was like, oh, well, I got you a drink, now you get me a drink. Now it's like, you know, it wasn't like a tit for tat, like creepy thing. But
no, I think it's the idea. Like, you know, I grew up in the Eastern culture, and I think there's some really great things about it of men being like leading, right? I think it's okay to just take the charge on some things. I mean, like for me, like I personally, I don't want to date a girl that's more masculine than me. Like, I'd be like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like, it's just not cool. The type of relationship I want. Here's the thing. Find what works for you guys, right? Look, we are not like professionals. We are not the pinnacle. We are just a normal ass couple that's sharing our perspective and just trying to say, look, you don't need to be on a yacht with 10 girls blowing cocaine to have a healthy life. Like, you don't
That's
need
probably
that.
not healthy.
Yeah, it's probably not healthy.
So...
Like, we're in a monogamous relationship where we have really supportive and we want to have kids and we want to have a great life, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bad content online, and it's like, it seems like trying to find a partner is damn near impossible. And maybe that might be true. Like, high quality people are extremely hard to come by nowadays. I reiterate this point every single time. Even as a guy, like, I have a hard time finding high quality men to hang out with, because it's like, I want to hang out with someone who has my back and is not just like drinking themselves to oblivion or just banging everything that moves. I want to see them in like a stable relationship. Or even, I have some really great guy friends that are single. Like, they're not just running around the bars just slaying around. And the thing is, they're really attractive men. They respect themselves.
That takes time.
Yeah,
that takes
totally.
a lot of time.
And I respect, like, one of our really good friends, Connor, is a really great guy. Like, he's very attractive. He just does his own thing and he's content.
Yeah.
And I really respect about Connor, because I bet you put any other guy in that situation, they would take full advantage of it. But he's just like, he just is looking for something that's really strict criteria. And I applaud him for that, for not settling for less.
Yeah, well, and anyone you bring in that's not the right person, like, if you build up a life, you bring someone in that's not right, like, they have the ability to, like, kind of tear some of it down.
Yeah, I think that comes back to the idea of, like, having really supportive friends. Like, having really supportive friends on the same page, on the same mission, with the same interest is really important. Because if you ask your really shitty friends for advice and they're in a toxic relationship, they're going to give you absolutely terrible relationship advice that might ruin your thing. And if you have really bad friends, like envy and jealousy, I know Hadley had some friends that were completely envious and jealous of her because, like, oh, we miss the old you. And you're like, hey, I'm in a healthy relationship now. I can't be going to bars, flirting with a ton of guys, even when I have a relationship. Like,
even then, I didn't. I just was like before, I feel like I went and I would go, and hang out with them. But now, like, I'm like, I don't, I watch them do all this stuff in relationships, and I'm like, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to be talking to dudes at bars without you. I'm not going to be like, that's crazy. Yeah. Toxic friends, like, people that make you feel guilty for being happy.
And safe.
And safe. Yes. I feel like I'm super happy. My life is super great. And people are like shit on it all the time now. And I think I get that a lot now, is people kind of like shit talk. And I'm like, this is everything I've ever wanted and dreamed and hoped for. And it sucks when people try to tear you down.
Well, it's just envy. Envy does absolute bad things. And the thing is, like, you got to cut out those toxic people, guys, and realize you have great people. I mean, our new friends are amazing. Like, our friend group now you're killing it. They're so supportive. Like, if you have bad friends, like, you don't have to deal with their BS. Like, sometimes, like, dude, like, you can't change them. It's not your responsibility. Cut them out, do your thing. And if they come around, cool. Most likely they won't. Because you can find really high quality people who are on the same page with emotional maturity, who do what you want. Because then, like, we go out to bars and dinner with our friends, but we go as a couple. Like, they bring their wife, they bring their kid, they bring their babies. If we're at a brewery, we bring even our single friends. And dude, it's so wholesome and it's fun. It is fun, and like, everyone's respectful. No one's like trying to bang each other.
Or like shit talk other people.
Yeah, it's very positive. I think the whole thing is like, people who shit talk, they probably should talk about you. Like, it's not selective. It's kind of like whoever's in their proximity is getting shitted on. And it's just not a good thing. Yeah. So I know this video kind of went all over the place, but guys, like, realistic dating advice for men. Trust yourself, right? Like, look, looks do matter. Do things to max out, whatever. Do your best to work out, be healthy, eat healthy, focus on your hygiene, focus on your clothing. And if you're doing the best and doing those things for you and loving yourself, you increase your odds and probability of meeting a high quality partner. Am I saying you will be guaranteed a girlfriend by doing these things? And I'm like, look, if you're doing these things just to get a girlfriend, I think that's the issue. Like, once you change your mindset, like, I'm just going to get better for myself, and whoever comes in my life is going to be lucky and blessed. That's the way you do it. But if you're like saying, I need to work out, I need to dress well, I need to get a fucking $1 million to get girls. And I'm like, you're still doing it for the woman, right? And that's not a good way. Like, do something for yourself and be patient. Be open to the opportunity and be okay to walk away. Be okay and don't settle. Guys, look. Do looks matter? Probably. They matter to some people more than other people. But there has to be an initial genuine attraction for things to even work. So to say that looks don't matter, like, we're all superficial. We're human. I think looks is what initiates the conversation in the beginning, because you're saying, well, there's an interest. Oh, she's cute, right? You know, it's not like you see someone from a distance, you're like, oh, she has a very strong personality. Like, I've never once saw a girl in public be like, she looks very brave. You know, it's like, she's really attractive. I like her style. I want to see what she's up to. Because usually people who take care of themselves really well, they love themselves, because why else would you be taking care of yourself, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying everyone who looks great is very nice, but generally speaking, I think people are really good. I think a small minority of shitty people kind of ruin everything for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I know this video, guys, was all over the place, but I hope you guys find some value. This is really fun for us. And if you want to continue this conversation, please email me at bedroomtalksconsult@gmail.com and set up a one-on-one consultation. Guys, it's amazing. I have recurring clients. I love hearing your story and the progress. Like, it's so much fun for me. It's quite affordable. Shoot me an email if you're curious, see I'm up to. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, you'll see our daily life and see how cool and normal it is, right? Like, we're not on yachts every day, but it's at m.deep20 in the description below. And once again, let's clap it up for Hadley. She's just killing it, and she's becoming a regular. It's our third video together.
Yes.
So as always, I'll see you guys again. Peace out. Namaste.